जहां से भी तुम आए हो कुछ तो इम्पैक्ट हुआ है. Can we heal that? In a way that it allows you to experience something more fulfilling. How are you going to literally spread the light if there is none for yourself? If your cup is not full, you being able to find somebody who is going to be able to share your happiness and joy in life, the chances are slimmer. Of course, not that it cannot happen.
Right.
But, and if we were to truly come down to like, just a few steps, let's say, to navigate this period. That, okay, so navigation, of course, we've spoken so much about healing. It's also getting a kind of a tribe for yourself. That there are people who are at your age, at your socio-economic level, are still very healthily looking out for partners, potential partners. With the online accessibility today, you have a lot of possibilities. Like, I know that when I made the decision to be child free, it was not something that was very popular, very popularly accepted, let's say. But there are a lot of groups. I have found a lot of groups online who are couples child free, who are people who've chosen to be child free, and you know that this is also another way of living life, and it's okay.
Right.
So how are we going to work on shame? We're going to work on shame with certain things that add to our life and our personality, right? So I have to find something that tells me that this is okay.
Yeah. Or wherever, like some space where you feel understood in some sense.
Understood, right? Yes. So if I'm feeling understood in a community of people, I'm going to have more tolerance to, let's say, how you call those uncle aunties, or I'm going to have more tolerance when I look at those social media posts of other people hanging out with their partners only, or sharing posts of like abundant love.
Right.
So it allows me to feel okay.
Yeah.
And so there is healing, there is finding a tribe. A lot of us come from that space of people pleasing. I know that I did. So I would overextend myself to fulfill other people's needs, which I do see. It's pretty common now. A lot of people are also self-aware in that sense. So when you are prioritizing other people so much, it is going to build resentment and frustration. And it's not going to let you experience your relationship fully. But also then knowing when to say yes. So, for example, a conflicting conversation, having a difficult conversation with your partner, creating tolerance for that discomfort of, somebody is troubled or hurt or is not okay, and you will have to make some changes for that. So committing yourself and saying yes to those critical conversations or actions that you may need to take to allow your relationship to flourish. And when we work on these things, it naturally very positively impacts our self-worth. So it's like, it's all looped in, it's all connected.
On one hand, we are saying that, okay, we are optimizing for like, more variables than our previous generation.
Yes.
Right? And that's why it's okay to like, meet a lot more people. And if someone feels remotely interesting, get slightly emotionally invested to see how it actually might be, or try to authentically connect. And then if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, move, right? That's one.
Right.
Now the other is that, it's like, okay, this could be fear of commitment. And honestly, I think it can get very confusing for like an individual, right? Am I actually optimizing, or am I fearing to commit, right? Because it can be confusing to oneself, and I think it can be very confusing to like a personal.
I fully agree. Yes,
right?
I agree that this dilemma.
You can always rationalize your.
Of course, our intellectualizing and rationalizing capabilities are such intense.
Yeah, and Instagram content makes it a lot more data backed as well. But I'm serious, right? Like you could be in the same spot Now one can say that, hey, you have a fear of commitment, and you're like, no, I'm just optimizing, like I don't want to settle, I don't want to have a bad marriage, I want this to be my only marriage, like I hear people give all these kind of reasons as well, and I'm not saying that that's like a reason, I'm just saying it's how does one distinguish?
The dilemma exists, the choices exist, and so the dilemma will exist in a certain way. However, I see that when we say the word fear of commitment, I think it comes from that space where you are feeling fully invested in that relationship. Everything ticks off, but you don't want to go ahead. So all of us will have certain things that we need in our life or we'd want in a partner. Okay. When all of that ticks off, when you are being able to experience a fulfilling relationship, and yet you're unable to take that call or move forward in the relationship, I would term that as fear of commitment. Now, at that point, if you're still thinking, we can call it analysis paralysis. If you're still thinking, what if there is someone better for me? Okay.
Or even...
It's okay if you think, what if someone's better for me? Walk out of this. Don't hang in there then. Then go ahead and look for that okay, 5 things, whatever, 5 things, 15 things, this is the kind of person that I really want. This meets the category. I just discovered I want a few more things in the person that I'm looking for. Go ahead and look or experience it. That then goes back to the optionality part. So they both look a little different. Fear of commitment is not letting go, but also not walking forward. It makes the other person feel they're stuck. And it's like a debilitating experience. It starts to rupture your relationship. There is something that we call as relationship capital. Okay, that 2 people build. They're forming a relationship and living it, so to say. When there is fear of commitment, deep fear of commitment, the ruptures become more and the capital reduces. So you don't have enough left then. If this carries on for way too long, while the other person is really waiting when this would move forward, the resentment has already, been there.
Yeah.
And beyond resentment, what happens is that they've already lived the grief of this relationship not carrying on. Because they can't walk out. There is no verbal contract. So they don't want to walk out because they're so invested.
Yeah.
Right. And the other person is not helping again. But then you know that this isn't going anywhere by then. And so you've grieved the loss already while being in the relationship. And that is how it becomes a heavy thing to carry. That's the hurt that you will carry. So being in a committed relationship with fear of commitment is a deeply hurtful thing
to do. Like what if you're in a situation where your partner has a fear of commitment very clearly and they're not watching your episode. I am, for example, right? It's not easy actually, right? Like when you know that the outside world of dating is so unfamiliar, so scary, there's so much familiarity that is there already with this person. You also don't want to give up entirely mentally because you do think that this can work, this person just needs to work with a therapist, maybe we should take sessions together, you do all of those things, but you're not the person with the fear of commitment, you're the party
at the receiving end.
Yeah, you're at the receiving end. Like what can one do, what should one be doing?
First of all, acknowledging that it's a very painful experience.
Yeah.
You don't want to give up because you believe in the goodness of the relationship.
Right.
You don't want to give up also because you will carry giving up. You will carry that sense of failure.
Yeah.
You're like, no, I am not going to fail. I want to make this see the light of the day.
Correct.
In that sense. So you don't want to give up. You're at the receiving end of a lot of pain because you don't feel seen and understood. And your presence, it practically tells, it just if you're somebody who's committed, let's say, and you want to move forward to, it could be marriage, let's say, and if the other person is just not being able to get there, now if they refuse, it's okay, you have like a certain finality to it,
right?
but if you see that they're working towards it but not getting anywhere, that causes even more pain, because then you have to bear literally that courage to say that I am not okay with this, that I want to walk out of this space.
And I think people are not very binary in their responses, by the way, right? Like they either,
it's not binary, because you
no,
have,
like in their responses, right?
Ah,
like
okay,
it's not like they're not saying that, okay, I don't want to commit. It's not like, oh, I'm working to commit.
इतनी clarity होती है तो यहाँ तक पहुँचता ही नहीं है इंसान.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's like, it's typically how I've seen it show up around me is that people actually avoid any confrontation about it, right? Like, I mean, this conversation entirely is like avoided, for example,
Yeah.
right? Like suddenly people will travel or have other things to take care of, and it won't
Correct.
come up, right?
Yes, it won't, and they sometimes even clearly communicate, this is not what I want to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah,
don't want
as
to
simple
address
as that.
this.
Yeah, I don't
इतनी
know.
clarity है that I don't want to address this.
Correct, exactly.
But then if you're at the receiving end of your partner having that fear, then you are going to have to gather that courage